know. So let's introduce our speaker, Dr. Oti, today. So Dr. Oti is a research associate at the University of Cambridge in the Cambridge Center for Housing and Planning Research, Department of Land Economy. He is a part of the team looking at the non-technical inhibitor to an industry-wide uptake of digital technologies in the construction industry. His research seeks to understand why digital approaches have not yet become mainstream despite their widely acknowledged benefits, and to make suggestions as to how industry-wide changes can be made. Additionally, the research explores how emerging digital technology can be integrated with offsite manufacturing to increase the potential for widespread uptake in the UK construction industry. So now let's welcome Dr. Oti to give us his presentation. Yeah, Dr. Oti,
Hi,
you can
good
start.
good evening. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to have the opportunity to have this conversation. I would call it a conversation because I reckon that's what it is. Thank you, Feng, for the introduction, and thank you, Simon, for having me. As Feng mentioned, I'm part of a team conducting research into the digital transformation of the UK construction industry, and my background is in construction project management. I obtained my PhD from the University of Hong Kong, and following that, I did some research on the uptake of building information modeling in Hong Kong in particular, and following that, I moved to the UK. So, but then essentially my PhD also looked at the adoption of construction technology and how essentially any form of construction technology travels. Whenever it travels, it undergoes certain adaptations before it's taken up or it's hybridized in any given context. And so my research trajectory has essentially been about looking at construction technology and how it evolves from place to place, looking at it in organizational and project contexts as well. So sorry if you see the things popping up on the screen. I doubt you'd see it. It comes up, but then, yeah, we'll take it up from here. This evening, I'm happy to share these, share some information with you and also receive your feedback and have an interactive session talking about how the UK construction industry is undergoing transformation, essentially around the key innovations of offsite manufacturing and digital technologies. But then, so we would essentially, I'll talk through a broader view of what's going on in the UK, just to set the scene, and then talk about the current policy and its directions, how developments regarding the uptake of digital technologies and offsite manufacturing have evolved in recent time, and then draw out the implications these developments hold for organizations and construction professionals and structural engineer. The structural engineering profession is part of the allied professions in the architectural engineering and construction industry at large. Then draw out some concluding remarks and sort of essentially end with some questions for our discussion, and also invite questions for our joint discussion. So for several decades, for a very long time, some ills of the construction industry have been echoed over and over again across research in industry focus reports and also policy documents. More recent policy documents talking about the construction strategy and industrial strategies all emphasize the need to improve the industry's productivity and improve its safety records, also improve its schedule and budget challenges, and make the deliverability of built assets more certain, and also strive to lower the impacts that the industry has on the environment, particularly with respect to material innovation and cutting down on material waste. So these views are shared across policy, industry, and academic circles as important areas to be tackled if the construction industry is going to advance in the delivery of projects and how it is essentially organized. But then in the contextualizing our discussion here, I'll draw on current ongoing policy initiatives that talk about the industry transformation agenda, which is focused on promoting the use of digital technologies, offsite manufacturing. And with respect to digital technologies, I'm talking commonly about building information modeling, which has increasingly become a central platform based on which a lot of digitally enabled innovations or computer-based innovations have evolved out of. And offsite manufacturing, also called several other names, but then several other names, including prefabrication, industrialized building, design for manufacture and assembly, offsite construction, or some people also refer to it as modular construction. But then the central theme or the central principle across all these different kinds of names is moving as much work as that would have been done in situ in the final location of a built asset into a factory environment in order to improve in order to have higher productivity outcomes. And in recent times, some industry voices have been raising points about achieving higher pre-manufactured value for built assets through the use of manufacturing-based approaches in the delivery of construction projects. The government is also, in terms of policy, the government is also advancing developments related to platformization, which has been part of the key tasks that the Construction Innovation Hub is working towards. And the Digital Twins Initiative, which is hosted at the Center for Digital Build Britain, essentially ensuring that majority or ideally all built assets in the country have what is called a digital twin, so a model-based version of a physical asset for the purposes of management and also improving user experience at the end of the day. But then, despite the significant efforts channeled towards the transformation of the construction industry on the basis of these four innovations earlier described, it's interesting to note that majority of the talk has been strongly technocentric, and by this I mean having a lot of emphasis on on optimizing the technical aspects of these innovations. So in terms of offsite manufacturing, an overview of a lot of policy emphasizes on its use and increasing its optimization in project delivery. And in terms of digital technologies, a lot of emphasis has been on the ways in which building information modeling, for example, can be further exploited in terms of its modeling capabilities or its modeling capacities, as well as what kind of data can be input in a model in order to have a better understanding of what could be obtained from the model of a built asset or an asset that is yet to be built. That is yet to be built. Significant observations from research also show that majority of transformation agenda that are often centralized on technology-based initiatives tend to be technocentric. However, if we take a step back, or if we step slightly further up, we realize that the industry transformation goes beyond just technocentrism, just focusing on the technical aspects, because the construction industry is far reaching beyond just technology or the application of technical developments, because it involves people, it involves processes, and it also ties into well-established institutional practices that end up holding that have collectively created a framework within which firms operate. Procurement practices are implemented, how professionals are trained, how professionals continuously develop themselves in their field of specialization. And so, taking this understanding forward, we realize that achieving what the aspirational goals in policy, in recent policy documents, we would have an understanding that achieving these goals require co-evolution of specific factors, including changes to preferred practices, organizational practices, in changes to current technologies that are being used or techniques that are being used to deliver projects, changes to professional capabilities, as well as changes to policy. For the policy dimension, we can clearly see that from the overview that the government is very active in that direction. And so at the end of the day, the step changes that that the government anticipates is going to be achieved gradually and with consideration to these multiple factors that I have given an overview of. In terms of in terms of policy and directions of the transformation agenda, the government's platform initiatives have been widely disseminated. There's a lot of emphasis on it, from CIH through to as a government supported entity, through the IPA, and also joint collaborations between the University of Cambridge, that's the CDBB, and stakeholders in the housing sector. So clearly the transformation agenda is through the promotion of a wider adoption of digital technologies and offsite manufacturing, together with platform approaches, is on the rise and is picking a lot of speed. The government's platform proposal, for instance, is going to bring in significant demand for the use of offsite manufacturing, because it is on the back of the presumption in favor that was announced for offsite manufacturing that was announced in late 2018. Following this, in 2019, the IPA brought out a request for proposals for a platform approach for design, for manufacture and assembly. And this initiative, according to the policy document, is positioned to change procurement approaches and also trigger innovations around which more offsite can be used and more manufacturing-based approaches can be adopted in the delivery of projects. Again, to further emphasize how the government's transformation initiatives is picking speed, we realize that in the recently announced nearly £12 billion affordable housing scheme, the government makes clear that the use of MMCs on any of the seven categories are going to be expected from the suppliers who will be working in conjunction with the local authorities who will be delivering this affordable housing scheme with with Homes England. And so a quarter of all the affordable homes that are going to be built will be required to use MMC, that is MMC capturing offsite manufacturing as well. And so clearly there is a lot of push in that. And again, this is much laudable. However, if we take a further step back, we realize that the needed changes for these widespread, for the widespread transformation of the construction industry to be achieved is more than these initiatives, because there can be the policy push from this framework that is linked to our ongoing research here. Clearly we can see that there is the component of policy is there, the technological development is there. That's when you look at the socio-technical regime section, you can see that these two elements are strongly being emphasized in what is happening in the UK. However, aspects of market and user preferences and professional development, and also the acquisition of relevant capabilities, which are all part of the established ways of the way the industry works, have been left unattended to. And so the begging question that remains is exactly what must change in order for us all as an industry to see the step changes that policy keeps on presenting to us, or keeps announcing or talking about. Part of findings from our ongoing research shows that there are multiple factors that need to be taken into consideration, but then that the significant development that needs to occur for these widespread changes to happen are not being it cannot be identified yet. However, at a micro level, we can see multiple discrete innovations that are happening. So we can see, if we take a look at the training of professionals for the construction industry, we can see the introduction of new modules and courses to equip students who are going to be the future of professionals in the construction industry, with courses or elements of courses that are equipping them in the use of digital technologies, for instance, and the introduction of programs related to integrated project delivery, for instance, is seeking to emphasize the need for students or even professionals to understand quickly the relevance of collaborative working, which is central to the use of digital technologies and offsite manufacturing, owing to the need for interdisciplinarity and also the need for cross-party engagement right from the beginning of a project. But then most of these developments are still in discrete, they are existing in discrete forms and not coalesced enough to generate the needed momentum to trigger the widespread changes. if we look at the platform core, again, it is strongly technocentric, and it keeps emphasizing it keeps emphasizing principles that leave out the need to take into consideration organizational adjustments and professional adaptation to the ongoing developments related to an increased push for the take-up of offsite manufacturing and digital technologies. Part of these principles essentially emphasize how the proposed platform is going to work in terms of design for manufacture. The idea is to move away from project-based design to a more kit of parts design approach. And in terms of it being platform centered, it's going, the idea is to have a digital platform that can be shared across multiple stakeholders for various projects, and being open for manufacture, use, and procurement, meaning that emphasizing access across different disciplines that all contribute to the development of a project design and its eventual delivery. These, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be trialed by 5 government departments, but then the emphasis keeps, as I've mentioned already, keeps on being about the more technical dimensions of what the platform will look like, without a lot of consideration for the ripple effects for organizations in terms of their business models, for instance, and also planning for project delivery, as well as how to equip their employees or their workforce in order to effectively use what the platform is going to require of them for delivery of projects by the 5 government departments and ministries. So the developments that I've spoken about so far hold varying implications for organizations in the construction industry. Majority of the implications have to do with change that is going to be an ongoing process, and not only related to what specific is not only going to be related to the acquisition of technical components. And so this again emphasizes the point from the framework presented earlier, that achieving widespread changes has not only got to do with technical dimensions, but because there's more to that. Implications for organizations, particularly, so since I'm talking to structural engineers, I would try and keep it to design firms, or or organizations involved in the delivery of design components for specific projects. This requires the changes that the transformation agenda holds specific changes, and part of these changes requires organizations to develop the relevant capabilities in order to meet procurement requirements for buildings and projects for which the use of offsite manufacturing and digital technologies are going to be required. I'm talking from a buildings dimension because that is what most of our research is focused on. Looking back at the government's offsite preference for offsite manufacturing for projects, as I mentioned earlier, which was announced in late 2018, it sets immediately the requirement for construction firms to develop the relevant capabilities, because looking at the direction of the requirement to use offsite manufacturing, the government's ambition is to nudge the industry, similar to what was done by mandating BIM in 2016 to nudge construction firms to develop the relevant manufacturing-based capabilities. The second, so in terms of capabilities, construction firms ought to then pay attention to how to equip themselves to handle the integration of design, the manufacturing, and on-site assembly phases of projects. Because once you introduce off-site manufacturing into the mix of project delivery, then automatically you've got the manufacturing bit of it right in the center. And our ongoing research shows that one of the most difficult things for construction firms to do is to develop the capabilities to manage the need to have as much detail in the design phase input into a design as much as possible. And this is one of the limiting factors which construction firms are constantly having to deal with. In terms of implications for organizations, process innovation is also very critical. It's a critical implication that construction firms need to take note of. Again, this dimension of change of the change agenda or the transformation agenda has barely been given any attention in policy in the policy aspirations. And so it becomes important for construction firms to pay attention to such implications. Process innovation is relevant for construction firms to effectively deliver projects using offsite manufacturing and digital innovations. The requirements to use offsite manufacturing or manufacturing-based innovations, for that matter, and digital technologies changes the game of delivering projects in the conventional way. This is mainly because how professionals are engaged in a conventional way is different from how professionals are engaged in the use of these innovations. Whereas in the use of offsite manufacturing and digital technologies, we require stronger collaborative practices and an early formation of an integrated project delivery team. You typically do not have that in the delivery of projects using a conventional approach. And so, thinking of innovative ways to quickly achieve these changes in terms of team formation and project delivery is very relevant. It is difficult for long established firms to achieve this kind of process innovation because there is an established framework within which the organization structures have been set up. And the setup in itself constrains firms from achieving this innovation that I have described. It is also relevant for construction firms to take into consideration the need to evolve and adapt. As I mentioned in my opening sentence or statement for this section, change is the only constant that is going to be with us as part of this transformation journey. And so to have the capabilities to evolve and adapt is relevant for construction firms to accommodate or integrate themselves into the emerging markets and niche for the construction industry. One direction of our research is looking into whether or not the renewed interest in the use of offsite manufacturing and digital technologies is in itself creating a niche within the construction industry, such that we are going to have a pocket of the industry where it's still stuck in the delivery of projects using conventional, in quote, brick and mortar approaches. And we are going and having another pocket, which is more technologically advanced or innovation embracing in another pocket of the industry. But then, as innovation studies show, there is always going to be the further advancement of technological uptake and its use in the industry. And so it's in the interest of construction firms to evolve and adapt. Conversations with some consultants and project managers and contractors and consulting firms as part of our ongoing research show that some contractors, for instance, are now gradually taking steps to become what they refer to as integrators. So standing in the middle of a client's needs and the assembly of design, manufacturing, and on-site assembly capabilities. In terms of design and on-site assembly capabilities, most contractors have that already. However, the development of the capabilities to integrate the manufacturing component of it is what they are currently working on. And some of them have already, in order to cut out other suppliers, some large contractors have already taken the steps to build in-house teams equipped with the relevant capabilities to establish factories on their own. And it's no secret that companies like Kia and Wilmot Dixon have factories that they own themselves and use as part of delivering projects. Business model revisions in line with evolving and adapting is a constant as part of this change, because they establish business models where you've got a client approaching a consulting team to further employ a supplier network to deliver their specific need, is gradually giving way to clients approaching directly an integrator who will be able to deliver the specific needs that they want using digital technologies and manufacturing capabilities for a specific project. There is an example that comes to mind about the delivery of a teaching and learning facility for the University of Birmingham by one of the large contractors in the UK, where they were directly approached by the client to deliver this massive project requiring the installation of a multi-component glass structure right in the middle of a traditional four-walled structure. And in order to ensure high precision and timeliness of delivery, the use of manufacturing approaches and model-based design was something they could not do without. And so in the delivery of this project, the key success factors, which was explained to us, was the ability of this construction firm to have an in-house adapted model to enable them to quickly shift between delivering projects using offsite manufacturing and digital technologies and the delivery of projects using conventional methods for the various clients that they meet along the way. Part of the implications of change for organizations also border on taking into consideration both outward facing and internal factors that are relevant for them to undergo the needed changes that they need to undergo. Sitting at the top of the change that organizations need to consider is leadership and management. And this snowballs into the development of an organizational transformation strategy to facilitate the needed change. From our research, what we identify is that the successful firms that have been able to successfully incorporate the use of digital technologies and offsite manufacturing for their procedures have taken the steps to have a good to ensure that they've got a digital transformation strategy. And a good digital transformation strategy, as driven by a strong committed leadership and management, has to do with setting a clear agenda for change, communicating this clear agenda for change, and ensuring that it is implemented on a day-to-day basis and repeated over and over again, but undergoing changes where necessary in order to feed back into the desired change that has been set already. The building of capable supplier networks is also relevant because no firm in the construction industry is an island in one way or the other, because in the delivery of projects, the delivery of projects require the involvement of supplier networks and other component suppliers and other professions from other disciplines. And so ensuring that a firm's supplier networks have the relevant capabilities to deliver a project with using digital technologies and offsite manufacturing in particular is very relevant. What we identify from our research is that some large construction firms are already adopting what is called, what they term a growing together approach. So in order to, because they increasingly realize that their success on projects is linked to the capabilities of their supplier network. And so from time to time, they are able to organize drop-in sessions or training sessions with their supplier networks in order to make them aware of their procurement needs going forward, so that if they need some help that they can provide in terms of training of their workers, they take the steps to equip them with these capabilities in-house. And another key factor for construction firms making the transition is building trust-based relationships with their clients. The use of digital innovations and digital technologies and offsite manufacturing is in itself seen at the moment as taking a risk, sort of some form of stepping into the dark. But then now it's not, I reckon it's not so dark, because steps are being taken to ensure that there is more awareness of the potential of these innovations. But however, the building of trust-based relationships with clients cannot be underestimated, because it is in building trust that clients are then able to, one, see the benefits of implementing these innovations in real life or on their own projects, and two, building trust-based relationships with clients further informs the future use of such innovations on projects. The point 5 relates with what we'll be talking about in detail in the next phase, which is about training and skills development initiatives for employees. So construction firms or firms involved in the construction industry that are successfully deploying BIM as a digital technology and offsite manufacturing invest in training and skills development initiatives for their employees. This comprises enrolling them in formal institutions to help them acquire the relevant capabilities, as well as providing in-house training for them in order for them to acquire the specific skills and even develop the capabilities to collaborate with other design professionals in the day-to-day delivery of projects using offsite manufacturing and BIM as a digital technology. In order for all these factors to hold together, these successful construction firms, and this is based on what our research is showing, have robust structures for effective collaboration and communication. So they've got clear lines of communication in terms of reporting errors, in terms of the steps to be taken in team formation for internal task delivery, as well as inter-organizational task delivery on particular projects. But then within every organization is the construction professional. And so moving from the top now, from the macro level of our discussion to what relates to you and I as construction professionals, what does all these, what implications do all these changes mean for us? What implications does the ongoing need to use offsite manufacturing and digital technologies for project delivery mean for us? The answer is, well, there is no one answer to it, but one of the important answers is training and upskilling. Studies show that the implementation of any innovation in the construction industry holds implications for professional identities, as well as the capabilities that are required of specific professionals from time to time. An example I'll give is the introduction of building information modeling in the construction industry, and subsequently it being mandated for all forms of public sector projects. It has cascaded into series of developments, and now we've got professional associations that rally around building information modeling. We've got professional identities being undergoing changes now, and now we've got people who are designated as BIM managers or BIM leads or virtual design managers or virtual design and construction managers, and a host of other similar designations. The essential point here is that every innovation or the introduction of any kind of change or innovation comes with implications for construction professionals and their identities. And this ends up or tends to roll into project, the definition of project-based responsibilities, and even who ends up leading a project team. Part of our ongoing research of the case study of the delivery of a school project, a net zero carbon building for a school project using digital technologies and offsite manufacturing, revealed an interesting point, which is the architect for that project at the end of the day, although was working with a team of professionals, ended up becoming what we identify as a systems integrator, being able to pull together, because that person was now the go-to knowledge base for for most of the decisions related to the use of BIM on that project, and also the use of DFMA for that project. The school project was designed such that it was going to be wholly 80% of the components were going to be made in a factory setting, delivered on site, and then assembled. And as part of studying that the delivery of that project, what we came to realize is that because of the architect's capabilities in understanding the requirements of designing for manufacturing assembly and using model-based design to deliver the project, the project delivery team, and this comprised the construction manager, the structural design consultant, and the groundworks consultant, all deferred to this person in receiving insights about decisions that need to be made in order to ensure that the project was delivered successfully. And this was mainly because the architect in question had some experience and actually obtained a formal qualification in the use of digital model-based designs and DFMA. This is not to say that every person needs to go to a school, sit in a classroom, and obtain the relevant capabilities. However, it is important to identify from what I've put on the slide, to identify individual BIM and offsite manufacturing related competency needs and gaps, identify suitable this could be based on in identifying the competency needs and gaps. This could be based on looking at where you're at and where you'd want to be in the future, and but then taking into consideration all that has been discussed and the trajectory of the innovations that we are currently witnessing. What does the future look like, and what does it mean for you, particularly for, well, I wouldn't say particularly for any demographic of professionals, but then all professionals is relevant to for all professionals, it is relevant to undertake this needs and competency gaps. And particularly, I mean, it's relevant for such reflective exercises to be undertaken in groups. Following that, identifying suitable training resources, and the CITB provides has a rich, the CITB and the Supply Chain Sustainability School provide a rich source of material for such forms of training. Embarking on the training and complementing that with in-house bespoke training relevant to what your day-to-day tasks or your day-to-day professional activities involve in your place of work, or even adding on to that for your future considerations, not just considering what you are responsible for doing on a day-to-day basis within your current organization, but then also taking a futuristic look in order to move forward from or add on to what you've already got in terms of competencies for your profession. And identifying practical real-life opportunities to put these skills to use, to put these training and upskilling competencies that you would have acquired to use, and then consequently undertaking periodic competency reviews, whether as an individual within your organization or within a professional fraternity or professional group. All of these are useful in enabling the construction professional to add on to who they are or what their capabilities are now, and enable them to transition into a future which is going to be innovation-led. It is not often there are arguments that do not serve in the best interest of any professional identity. For instance, in the introduction, when when 5D BIM or when 5D BIM began making headlines, that is the use of the ability, having the technological ability to use building information modeling to undertake cost estimation, there was an uproar, or there was some talk in academic and industry circles regarding how that was going to potentially impact the practice of quantity surveying as a profession. However, it became increasingly important that quantity surveyors as professionals in the construction industry are still relevant, however, needed some training and upskilling in order to update their competencies from, in quotes, simply preparing bills of quantities and overseeing cost estimations or cost budgeting towards a future, towards the acquisition of competencies that would enable them to blend these two essential skills together. And so it's not a matter of doom and gloom for one profession or the other, but the fact still remains that training and upskilling as part of change is the only constant that would ensure that a construction professional remains relevant. So in terms of conclusions, what regarding what we've talked about, what I've discussed this evening, or what I've shared this evening, a number of things stick out. One, the transformation agenda is fiercely ongoing. The government's policy position seems to show that there is the willingness to nudge the industry towards the use of more digital innovations or digital technologies and manufacturing-based approaches for the delivery of projects. Three, these developments do hold implications for how construction organizations would consider themselves going forward, whether to innovate, adapt, and evolve, or to remain as they are and get passed by, by the innovations. There is also the potential for the construction industry to have specific niches where there's a market for the use of these digital innovations and manufacturing-based approaches. And but then, regardless of whichever outcome, at the end of the day, professionals are central to whichever change that policy aspires to achieve. And but then the centrality of professionals hinges strongly on their continuous improvement and training and upskilling, and how individual professionals together with their organizations embrace these the ongoing innovations is critical for us all at the end of the day. I'll stop here and receive any questions from you. Thank you very much, Feng and Simon, for the opportunity. I look forward to an engaging discussion. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Oti. So anyone have any questions, can you just type into the message? I think Dr. Oti can read that, and then I can also help to read out. So yeah, I think there are some like questions. They are saying, yeah, probably I can start. So has there been a review of how many buildings have been built using the offsite manufacturer? Do you have this information or not?
Okay, has there been a review of how many? Wow, this is quite interesting. There is a document that I came across, or well, there was a report that I came across. At the moment, there is not a comprehensive review of the number of buildings that have been built using offsite manufacturing. And then but then let me contextualize this statement, this response. It's on the back of the government's presumption in favor for offsite manufacturing. Some procurements have been made based on this presumption in favor, but then there is not none of the buildings have been completed yet under that policy directive. And so in short, there is not a comprehensive review of the number of buildings that have been built using offsite manufacturing. However, in terms of just general, in terms of in a general sense, I could point a number of buildings that have been put up using offsite manufacturing in terms of completed and ongoing projects. I'll give an example here. Kia is undertaking an award-winning HMP project for the DOJ, for the MOJ, and that is one of the examples. They also completed HMP 5 wells using a significant proportion of a significant proportion of that project was completed using offsite manufacturing.
Yeah. Someone also asked how about the multi-story buildings? Have you got any examples for the OSM in multi-story buildings?
I can give an example for a housing project currently being executed by, let me find the name of the firm. Yes, Swan Housing Association. They've got a project ongoing in London, which is using is a multi-story building that is using steel frame modular construction.
Yeah. Someone also asked you, how do you do the binary decision, yes or no, thing between the conventional, like, and also non-standard, and also this new, like, offsite technology?
Yeah. Adrian, there isn't, well, from both research and conversations with practitioners, there is no clear, it's not like a light switch. It's not black or white. It's not a binary. The use of offsite manufacturing and or the use of innovative approaches for the delivery of projects hinges strongly on what works best approach. It is not entirely a decision of just going with it or not going with it. It's about identifying the need and identifying what works best. And even on every project, if you a more critical look at offsite manufacturing, some would argue that we use factory manufactured components even in conventional construction approaches. For example, your light switch is manufactured in a factory. It's not manufactured in situ. If you've got a skirting board, it's cut in the factory. It's not always cut on site. But then the more extensive use of these of sub assemblies relates strongly with identifying what works and what doesn't work, and what will lead to the most effective outcome in terms of project delivery, and what would help achieve the project targets according to a client's needs. Yes, so a hybrid solution in most circumstances is more realistic. But then we can give this answer now, but then in a decade from now, potentially the advancement of the approaches, and also the evolution of the industry's practices, procurement, and supplier networks would have evolved such that the use of a hybrid approach would not necessarily make sense, or would not be the most effective approach, because the introduction of any new innovation goes through several waves, where the wave of it meeting obstruction, or it being seen as an obstruction by some and as an opportunity by others. That is one phase. The next phase is where it moves from that stage into hybridizing with the existing preferred approaches or existing technologies. And then from there, if it follows the theoretical understanding of how innovations emerge and evolve, then it's now going to move from being preferably hybridized state, into becoming what the norm is at a certain stage, until a point that it is overcome, or it is met with a new innovation, which then starts the cycle over and over again. So now it's useful for us to agree that a hybrid solution is more realistic to achieve specific project needs. Thank you.
Yeah, probably myself also have a question. So I want to know how effective is those digital technologies, because we know that we currently can have so-called digital representation of a digital building using like a digital twins. So have Cambridge have ever done any those similar like research in digital buildings?
There is a case study of, there are two case studies. The one I can speak of is the creation of a digital twin of the Institute for Manufacturing and Institute for Manufacturing. So there's a facility at IFM in Cambridge that has where the researchers in that particular building have successfully created a digital twin for the building. They started with just a section of it and then gradually populated the model with other parts of it. And within that building, they've successfully planted specific sensors in order to monitor, for example.
Hello? Yeah. Sorry, it seems there's something. Yeah. There's some problem with his connections. Yeah. So can anyone else hear me? Yeah. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I hear you.
I
Okay.
think there's something
Yeah.
wrong with his computer. But in that case, I see there's yeah, there are not so many other questions. I think rather than wait until he come back, I think time is up. So how about maybe we just stop here? Yeah, if you don't mind. So thanks for everyone to come to this meeting. So yeah, and I will see you guys next time. Yeah. Okay. See you guys.
Bye-bye. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank
See
you.
you. Yeah. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah, thanks,
Thank you
Fung.
very
Bye.
much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. See you guys. Yeah. Okay.